like I said, I put the water on to boil. We're gonna make 2 cups of brown rice, which will be more than Joe and I really need. But one of the things about brown rice, or any rice for that matter, is that it is very high in arsenic, if you don't know that already. Rice, because of the soil, rice absorbs a lot of arsenic. And the way that you can get the arsenic off is by scrubbing the rice underwater. So you want to put it into a sieve like this, pour the rice in. I'm going to go over to the sink now and run this underwater and really scrub it to wash off some of the arsenic. And then by cooking the rice, normally the ratio was 1 cup of rice to 2 cups of water. But when you do that, you are removing the arsenic. So now you want to cook rice. The recommendation is to cook rice as if you're cooking pasta. So you want to fill a big pot of water, big pot with water, and then put the rice in there. And then I'm going to drain the rice into this sieve the same way one would do that for pasta. So I'm just going to scrub this for a minute.
Deborah's on here. I don't know how to show you. Oh, here. Michelle.
Yeah. Michelle Kingsley. Is that to the right?
And just shake it, let the water
You
drain.
should unmute yourself so we can hear Bhavani.
What's that?
I said people should mute themselves because we can hear other people talking.
Yeah. Okay, if everyone would mute themselves. I'm just gonna let that rice drain over there while the water's coming to a boil, okay? What you also wanna do, if you're working on a smooth surface and you have a cutting board, if you put a little damp towel underneath the cutting board, that will stabilize your cutting board so it won't move around while you're working. The recipe, we need tempeh. You can get either original tempeh, which is really just soy tempeh, or you can get 3-grain tempeh. You should know that if you use 3-grain tempeh, it has barley in it. So if anyone's gluten-free, 3-grain tempeh doesn't work for you. So you just want to check the ingredients. I'm going to use a 3-grain today because I don't have a problem with gluten. And you need to take this plastic wrapping off of the tempeh first. And then take the whole tempeh out like this. And then you can pulse it in a food processor. And I'm going to actually move my camera like this for a minute. You'll move it to my food processor.
Who is not muted?
Someone's not muted. Okay, so put these big chunks of tempeh right into the, it's not plugged in. Okay, and just pulse this. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like. It's little crumbles, and that's what you want. Okay, so you're going to do that. Then you're going to place this on a cookie sheet, turn your oven on, and you're going to toast this in the oven. I'm going to, here we go again. So get out a cookie sheet, and you're just going to spread this crumbled tempeh all over the cookie sheet. Turn your oven on, if you haven't done that already, to about 350. And I just turned mine on, so I'm just going to wait a minute before putting it in. But this is a great way to actually toast the tempeh, and then you can add it to the beans without absorbing a lot of oil. okay? But it cooks the tempeh really beautifully. So I'm just gonna set this to the side for a few minutes until that gets hot. We now are going to get out the onions and peppers. The recipe has a few different components to it. We're making beans, which are you can either use whole beans. I had black beans, but if you prefer pinto beans or kidney beans, that's fine. You can also use refried beans, which is the can that I have here today that I'm going to use. So for the bean component, we're going to be dicing the onions and the peppers. For the fajita component, we're going to cut the onions and the peppers into slivers. Okay, so you want to just first take off the skin from the onion. And I hope many of you are cooking along with me. That's the whole idea here, that we're gonna be able to sit down to dinner together. I forgot to pour myself a glass of wine, but if anybody would like to partake, you can certainly have a glass of wine. Yeah, Brooke, if you can mute your camera, that would be great. I also have this compost bin right here where all my scraps of my vegetables go in here, and then every day I take it out to my larger compost out in the garden. Okay, so I'm going to be doing the bean component first. So you want to chop the onions. There's many different ways of dicing onions. Since I've already cut it in half, I'm going to just make a couple cuts this way. And then this way. And you end up with very beautiful, perfectly diced onions. I talked about this last week. You know, I know a lot of people who are getting ready to cook. They like to get all the parts diced up ahead of time, but I find it actually takes more time that way. If I can since sauteing the onions takes longer than sauteing the peppers, the onions can be sauteing while I am chopping the peppers. So I'm going to put a little oil here in my smaller, I have two different size cast iron frying pans. You can also use a wok if you prefer that, but I'm going to just put a little oil in this cast iron frying pan. Turn it on and let the heat start coming up. I'm going to pull out my peppers. And I love using different colored peppers because they're just so beautiful. And I want some of my peppers I want to be chopped, again, for the beans. And then I want some to be cut in slivers for the fajita part, for the vegetable part of the dish. So I'm going to put these onions now into this frying pan. Now, I've washed all my vegetables ahead of time before I came here. So if you haven't done that, you'll want to do that. To dice the peppers and make use of all the parts of the peppers, I am going to cut off the top and the bottom of both of them. And the top and the bottom is the part that I'm going to use for the beans that I'm going to chop. And this center part is what I'm going to use for the julienne strips or the slivers, okay? So you can just take out the seeds, put them to the side. See how this is, you can actually unfold the whole thing. You can take the little white membrane part off because you don't want that. And then this part's going to be cut into slivers for the fajita part. And if you notice, I'm using my fingers as a guide. You can either go like this, but I'm keep backing my fingers up so that my fingertips don't get in the way of the knife. And I end up with really beautiful strips. Meanwhile, this part I'm going to dice for the beans. So I have my strip pieces and my diced pieces. So again, I'm going to take out the seeds, and these will go into my compost. Or you can save them actually and plant them. Okay, I am going to take off those membranes again. Again, I am going to cut into the slivers. And that will be used for the fajitas. And now I'm going to chop this part for the beans, okay? I'm going to go in one direction. I'm going to turn them all and then go in the other direction. And you'll end up with really nice diced pieces like that. Turn it all and dice. And, you know, when I'm doing a stir fry, if I'm using peppers in my stir fry, I also want to cut them into strips. I will do the same thing, and I'll save these parts of the peppers for my salad and use them later in my salad. But whenever possible, I prefer not to cut the peppers so that I'm cutting in slivers that they look like, you know, the letter C. It's just not as pretty a shape as the straight line when you're sauteing. Okay, so my onions are cooking up. Saute them around in the pan here. I'm going to add a little minced garlic to that, like a teaspoon's worth of garlic. And I've already minced my garlic, but well, I don't have enough mince, so I'll be mincing more and show you one of my favorite little devices. I'm going to put the peppers right into here. The chopped peppers are going to go right in with the onions now. So you can see I have them, the peppers right in here. And we'll let that cook a little bit. I'm going to lower the temperature a little bit so it doesn't overcook. While that's cooking, I am going to dice up my onion. Or not dice it, I'm sorry, cut it into slivers for the fajitas. And I'm still waiting for this big pot of water to come to a boil because, like I said, the rice always takes the longest. And so when I'm making rice, because it takes longer, I started to say earlier, I'm making 2 cups, which is way more than Joe and I are going to eat at one time. But rice is one of those things that if you make a big batch, you can have it in the refrigerator, eat it again at a later date. You can even take half of it and put it in the freezer so that you can just pull it out at another time. But that helps you be able to put dinner on the table just a little quicker if you have some rice already made up. So again, I'm going to peel my onions. And all this is going to go into my compost. Of course, I have an onion that doesn't want to peel. Here we go. Okay. And sometimes there's a little membrane, like a thin piece of the onion skin that is slippery. You really want to take that off, otherwise it just gets in the way when you're cutting. Okay, so again, just like with the peppers, I am going to use my finger as a guide. Piece of that onion. My finger as a guide so that I don't cut my finger, and I'm going to back my finger up just a little bit each time, which will allow me to cut thin slivers of onion, okay? And then again with the other side. Now for the fajita part, you have a choice of whether or not you want to use a frying pan or a wok. Okay, so this is really cooking up nice. I'm going to lower the heat even a little bit more. I can add some of my spices to my diced onions and peppers. And so I have some chili powder, and I actually wrote amounts down of how much you can add. A teaspoon of the garlic, so a half a teaspoon of cumin. And as you can imagine, I don't use recipes very much, but I create recipes just to help guide all of you. The chipotle peppers, now this is spicy pepper. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Spicy pepper, the chipotle, and it gives a really nice earthy, smoky flavor. So some people love it and some people don't. So again, you want to smell it, get used to it, go light on it if you're not familiar with it to make sure that you like it, okay? And then cumin as well. So chili powder, chipotle powder, and some cumin. I'm gonna add that right now. My water is almost boiled. Okay, so you can see what this is looking like now. It's really getting nice and toasted. I'm going to add the beans to that. I'm also going to first take my tempeh. I'm going to put it into the oven right now. Timer. There's my little timer. Having a timer is really helpful. Usually I use my phone, but I'm going to set a timer just for like 8 minutes. And I'm going to check it in 8 minutes, see if it needs to be stirred up at all. Let me get rid of all of this into my compost bin. Okay. So I'm going to add the beans now to the saute pan. So I am choosing to use refried beans. You can, like I said, you can use refried beans, or you can use whole black beans, whichever you prefer. And it might depend on whether you're going to turn this into tacos or burritos or enchiladas. This recipe is so versatile. There's so many different things that you can do with it. So I'm going to add the beans. You see it comes right out of the can like that. And one of the beauties of this recipe, and one of the reasons I picked this recipe, is because so many of the ingredients are shelf stable. This is stuff that you can just have in your pantry. You know, you might not have the vegetables, but even the vegetables. I was at Whole Foods this morning. You can buy organic peppers, multicolored, frozen, and have that in your freezer so that, you know, if you can't get out to the store, you have a backup that way. So I'm just going to push this down a bit, and I'm going to add some salsa. And you can pick your favorite salsa. This is a Brad's hot spicy salsa, just to give it a little liquid because it's really thick right now. This is just going to give it some liquid. Mix this all up. Add a little more salsa to it. Ah, the water's boiling now. Go get my rice. And I'm going to put this 2 cups of rice, very little rice, in this big, huge pot of water. And again, I will be draining it right into the sink in this sieve. And that will be removing 90% of the arsenic that way. So if you do that, the one thing that you can't do, which I used to love doing, was flavoring the water. Like I would make my rice in a vegetable broth. Or, you know, I'd season it with some garlic and some bay leaves into the water. And now I don't do that because it would just be wasted. So I do the seasoning after I cook it. Okay, so I have my onions ready. I think I will use a wok as opposed to cast iron. So I'm going to bring the wok to the center, turn the flame on. I'm going to get some olive oil, put a little olive oil in the bottom of the wok. Not a lot. You know, I'm trying to cook with so much less oil these days, and it's very easy to do. You know, if you need more liquid in a recipe, you can add a little water. Like right now, I'm going to add just a tad of water to my beans, just to mix it up and give it a little bit more liquid. so pretty, but it's gonna be so good. Okay, so the oil's getting hot. I'm gonna add my onions first. Whenever you're sauteing, you always are gonna saute with the root vegetables first. Those are your hardest vegetables. So it'll be your onions, your carrots, parsnips, beets, anything like that that is a little harder. Get a spoon to stir my rice up. And I'm going to lower the temperature just a little on the rice so that it stays at a slow boil. Okay. You get another spatula. And I do have my wine now. So cheers. So I'm going to add some minced garlic in with the onions. And like I said, I knew I would want some more. So I'm going to bring my little Braun mixer over here for you to see. This is one of my favorite devices. I mentioned it last week as well. I'm going to take some garlic cloves that I have here, put it into my little mixer. This has another attachment also. It also is an immersion blender. So you can just put an immersion blender on here if you're making any type of soup. But if you're missing anything, like you could actually put the tempeh in here if you didn't have a big soup processor. And within just a few pulses, you have beautifully minced garlic. So I'm going to add a little more garlic here. Okay. So we're also going to be putting some mushrooms in with the fajitas. So I'm going to get my mushrooms. Now mushrooms are very sponge-like, and they will absorb so much water if you try washing them underwater. So you don't want to ever wash mushrooms under running water. Just take a wet towel, a damp towel like this, just a little bit of water on it, and just brush them. And that's it. You brush the top and the bottom, and you're going to get all the dirt off that way. But you don't want to run them underwater. I'm going to lower the heat just a little bit. Okay, I am going to chop my onions now. So these are going to be slices. Again, be careful to keep your fingers back so that you don't cut your fingers. Some people like to take the stems off, but you can also leave the stems on. I wiped them well, and I'm leaving the stems on for this recipe. Some recipes I prefer to cut my mushrooms into quarters as opposed to slices, but for this fajita, I like slices. Ah, my alarm. Let's check on the tempeh. It's coming along. You can see how the edges are getting golden brown. I'm just going to give it a little mix. I'm going to put it in for another few minutes. And I'm going to set the timer again for another 4 minutes or so, and then I'll take it out. And with this recipe, if you want, feel free to add broccoli to the fajita part. You can really, whatever vegetables you'd like. So I'm going to add the mushrooms first, because the mushrooms actually need to cook a little longer than the peppers. I'm going to add that. And as far as the rice goes, the rice usually takes about 40 minutes. It's the same whether you're boiling it in a big pot or you're making it in the ratio of 1 to 2 cups, 1 cup rice to 2 cups water, either way. So you can really do it just like with pasta. You can taste it, and you'll know the texture when it's ready. Okay, so I am going to add, the tempeh will be adding to the beans. And the peppers I'm going to be adding to the mushrooms. What I also have here are some red onions that I'm going to just chop. This is going to be part of our garnish. Okay, so I'm just gonna cut it into thin rounds, and I don't need that much, you know, depending on how much you love the onions, depends on how much you want to serve. This is really being served on the side with the dish. Again, turn. And that's it. So I'm gonna get a bowl to put this in. That's going to be for later. The mushrooms are starting to get soft. I'm going to add some of my spices to this now. Again, we have some chili powder. And again, you are the chef. When you're doing this, you choose how spicy you like it, how much flavor you want to put into it. I have found as I've gotten older, my taste is not as good as it used to be. So I like a lot of flavor. So I'm going to add some cumin now. And again, some of the chipotle pepper. These beans, I'm going to lower even more. They're ready. And these will be ready whether or not, the only thing that this is missing now is the cilantro. And cilantro is another one of those things that some people love and some people don't love. So if you don't like cilantro, you can use parsley to give that green color. Cilantro is, delicious for those that like it, but for those that don't like it, they say it tastes like soap. So you have to respect that. You just leave it out. Again, when you're the chef, you get to be the boss. You get to do what you want. So I'm going to add the peppers now to the mushrooms. Let that go a little bit. Okay, let's take the tempeh out. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. See this now? That's what you're looking for. So the tempeh is now cooked, and this goes into the beans, and it acts as, you can, if you're making chili also, you can use this. It acts as the, kind of like the chopped meat, or it looks like the chopped meat in the recipe. And just mix that up. Let me show you what this is looking like. Okay, so we're just going to mix the tempeh right into here. And beans have their own protein, so it's not like you really needed the tempeh. So if you don't have the tempeh and you want to leave that out, you can. Tempeh adds a lot of protein and B vitamins to the dish. It's for a fermented food, so it's also very good for your digestive system. Okay. So now to my fajita vegetables, I'm going to add some corn, and the recipe said a half a cup, but I was looking at a half a cup and decided I think a full cup is better. So I've just added a whole cup of frozen corn. Corn is one of those things that you would like to get organic, because a lot of corn is genetically modified and you don't necessarily know. So by getting organic, that's a really great thing. I actually printed this up to share with all of you. The Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, they just came out with their 2020 Clean 15 list and Dirty Dozen list. And what that is a whole list of the most important vegetables to get organic and the ones that are least important to really worry about. And corn is one of the ones that they say you really should try to get organic. Also on here are strawberries, spinach, kale, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, a lot of fruit, tomatoes, celery, and potatoes. So whenever possible, you want to try to get those organic. And that's one of the reasons I really try to drink organic wine, because the grapes are on that Dirty Dozen list. They have, the whole grape is sprayed And so when the concentration of that for making the wine makes the wine have a lot of pesticides in it. So I choose organic. Okay, so this is cooking up nice. Next thing I want to do is I want to chop my cilantro. Cilantro, I picked it off the stems. The stems are great to save for another time for a stock or a flavoring, but for this purpose, you really just want to use the leaves. And the best way to wash cilantro or parsley or lettuce for that fact is a salad spinner. If you don't have a salad spinner, I highly recommend getting one. The one with the pull string is the one I recommend mostly. It really spins it so well and gets it really dry fast. Much better than the ones that have a crank or a pump. So I recommend this. Okay, so I'm going to chop up my cilantro. And just like with chopping the other vegetables, you want to use the tip of the knife, just go up and down. Keep your fingers away so that you do not cut yourself. And I keep bringing the full leaves over into the center and then chop. Now this dish, as I said, we can be making tacos or burritos or tortillas with this, or enchiladas. One thing I used to make a lot as well, especially when I ate cheese, because I've been vegan now for since the new year. Prior to that, I was just vegetarian, so I've really cut out cheese. So now the dish, it doesn't have the same appeal to me. But I used to make a Mexican lasagna, where I would take the tortillas, put them at the bottom of a lasagna pan, put the beans in, put the vegetables in, put some salsa, more tortillas, beans, vegetables, salsa, and in each of those layers I would put some cheddar cheese or Monterey Jack or whatever kind of cheese that you wanted, and cover it all with salsa at the end and bake it in the oven. It was a great, easy to pull together dish for the family, and everybody could sit down to it. So
I'm so sorry. I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I had to take my mushrooms out of the pot in order to chop them back up. What goes in the pot with the mushrooms? I lost track.
What goes in with the mushrooms?
Yes.
So with the mushrooms, you have the onions, the peppers, and the mushrooms. Then I put in the corn. And then the seasonings are cumin, chili powder, chipotle powder. I haven't added any salt to either of these yet, but salt would go in there as well. And now I'm going to put some cilantro in here. And the other thing that goes in here is fire roasted tomatoes. And so you can use fire roasted tomatoes, either ones that have, at Trader Joe's, they have this really nice one with green chilies in them. Again, it's a little spicy, so if you don't like spice, you would rather use just a plain fire roasted tomato. And if you don't like the flavor of fire roasted, which gives it a little bit of a smoky flavor, you can just use regular diced tomatoes. But I'm going to put these diced tomatoes in with the onions, peppers, and mushrooms right now. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So this is really pretty. And that's one of the reasons I love using different colored peppers, because of how nice it looks. You see? And so this is just about ready as well. I have my tortillas. Let me get them out. So, like I said, there's so many different things you can use. These are mini tortillas if you wanted to make lots of little ones. Also, again, before I became a vegan and I was eating eggs, I would make a dish with a tortilla on the bottom, put the beans on top, the vegetables, and then a fried egg on top. Yum, delicious. Here's cassava flour tortillas. If you don't eat, if you like that and you can't eat corn. These corn ones are gluten-free, So these are the ones that I choose to use. To heat the tortillas up, you can just wrap them either in parchment paper or tin foil and just put them in the oven to warm them up. You can also warm them up in a cast iron frying pan. So I'm going to do that right here so that you can see. I'll bring my frying pan forward. Let it get hot first. You don't need oil in it, but if you want it to be crispy, you can put oil in it. But if you just want to be using it, you can just heat it up. Okay? I'm actually going to lower this for a bit because we are in such good time, being that we started late. This is all coming together very fast. I have another little treat that I'm going to do with you today. And I realize I didn't send this out to you ahead of time, so you probably don't have these ingredients. But this is jicama, for those that don't know. And jicama makes a great salad with a Mexican dish. It's a traditional vegetable used in Mexico a lot. I am going to peel it first. Maybe I'll cut it this way first. Peeling's not working so well, so we're going to just do it like this. But you do want to take the skin off. And this is just a really simple, easy to pull together salad that's very fast. It has jicama in it. It has some more peppers in it. It has some cilantro in it. And then you make a little salad dressing with some lime juice, a little bit of oil, again, cilantro. All peeled. Get my cilantro off to the side here. Cilantro is going to go in it, so it doesn't really matter that it's little on the cutting board. We're going to cut this into slivers. And then line it up so I can make, really nice little strips out of it. Left on there. Take that off. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask. Like I said, I was not planning on making this, but I saw it at Whole Foods this morning and I thought, I should just make a jicama salad. Again, partly because it's something that many of us are not familiar with, and just in the whole idea of expanding our palate, it's wonderful to experiment with new vegetables. So I'm going to keep cutting this into little slivers like this. Going to get out of the bowl. And it calls for some peppers. And all this stuff is really on low and just doing fine, so that it's all good. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to these beans. And anytime you add water to a pan, if it's sticking on the bottom, it's called deglazing. And it just really, especially if you have a cast iron frying pan, it just takes it right off of the bottom so that it's not sticking at all. Okay, let me check the rice too while we're at it. I can look at it and see that it's not finished, but it's getting there. Turn it up just a little bit. I'm going to add a little salt to this water as well. And while I'm at it, I'm going to add a little salt to the beans and the vegetables because I didn't do that. Okay, so this is all just in a holding pattern right now. I'm going to cut some peppers, some more peppers here for my salad. Take the center off. And like I said before, I'm going to take this, the top and the bottom of this pepper off and save that for a salad later, because for this recipe, I also want strips. But you only need about a total of a whole pepper in here, so I don't need both sides of the pepper. I'm going to add this to the bowl. Add some cilantro to this bowl. What else do we want in this bowl? Let's see. Some chopped red onion. And I have some that I can spare here. I'm going to add some chopped red onion. And a cucumber. Also going to add a cucumber. So cucumber, I'm going to take this plastic wrapping off, peel it, underwater, wash it, and dry it. I like leaving some of the skin on just for decoration. It's pretty that way. Cut it down the middle, scoop out the seeds. And this is an English cucumber, so there's not that many seeds, but you want to de-seed it. And we're going to cut this into strips. And I'm going to cut it into little pieces so it's about the same length as the jicama and the peppers. Add it to the bowl. Let's give this a little toss. Know what it really needs? Really look good with some red in there. Oh, I could either put cherry tomatoes or, let's see, I actually have a red pepper. Let's add a little red pepper. You can add cherry tomatoes if you wanted. That would look nice. So much about cooking is about how it looks. You know, kids especially, you know, they decided they like something by the way it looks before they even taste it. And the last thing I'm going to add to this, actually not the last thing, but one of the last things, canned organic mandarin oranges. Oh, of course that broke. Let's see if I can open it this way. I'm going to drain this. Put the oranges in. And make just a quick little salad dressing with, I'm going to use my little mixer. So I'm going to take this garlic out of here. And whatever remaining garlic is in here will be fine in the dressing. And for the dressing, you need a third cup of lime and half a cup of oil. So here's my measuring cup. And I have limes over here. Now with limes, I'm going to move this off just so I have a little room for right now. With limes or lemons, before you try to get the juice out of them, you want to roll them. That brings a lot of the juice out to the center. It makes it much easier to squeeze the juice out of. This is a little lime squeezer. Here's a lemon squeezer. They're just different sizes. So sometimes I'll have a little lemon and I'll use the lime one or vice versa. Doesn't really matter, but they're great little tools, not electric, just really easy to use. And you need a third cup of lime juice. Now it's counterintuitive. It actually looks like you'd want to put the lime in this way and squeeze it. But you actually put it upside down. And the idea is that you're going to be turning it inside out by squeezing the lime juice. And you're left with a little flat patty. Next one. A little more. Do another one. Again, roll it. This one, squeezing much easier. Okay, perfect. Third cup of lime juice, a half a cup of oil. So for this, you don't really want to use, you want to use a light oil. So I have an organic canola oil here. And we just need a half a cup, and I need to get some more. Okay. We're going to put that right in here with the lime juice. We're going to put a pinch of salt, a pinch of paprika. So actually, let me show you. I had this salt. This is one of my favorite things. This is called Maldon salt. They're salt flakes, and they come from England, and they're just so delicious. Really, really great. And then this, of course, is pink Himalayan salt. So a dash of paprika. Let me get my paprika out. And if you want, you can put a dash of cayenne pepper in, but I think I'm going to leave that out for right now. Mix this up. That's it. And pour this right over the salad. And I don't even think I need all of it. It'd be too much. I'm going to give this a mix. Put a little extra cilantro on top for beauty. And this salad is great. Okay, so we'll have the salad with it. All right, I'm going to turn on my pan now and heat up those tortillas. Get some of this out of my way here. Right now, I'm just putting everything into the sink, and I will pick through it after because there's some plastic in there from the cucumber. Okay. So the tortillas I'm going to use today. You can also use taco shells if that's what you prefer. Again, you know, using organic is really great when you're using some stuff that's made with corn. All right, so the pan is on. I'm going to turn my oven off because I don't need that anymore. And I'm just going to heat each one up just for a few minutes. actually press it down even with my hands. And when it starts getting warm, then I know that side is ready. And then I turn it to the other side. And like I said, you don't need to use oil. If you use oil, you'll end up with crispy tortillas, which makes a tostada. So it's really up to you. If you want to make a burrito, burrito can either be wrapped in a corn tortilla or a flour tortilla, whichever you prefer. Let this cook. Let me taste this rice, see if we're getting any closer to being finished. Yeah, rice is done. Okay, so let me get this tortilla off first, or I will burn it. Everyone's still there? You're all so quiet. No questions? Okay, I'm gonna take this one off. I'm gonna take the rice off.
Bhavani,
Yeah.
does Joe help you clean up? You have 4 pots already. I'm killing myself.
Every
Joe,
pot. I think I've used every pot in the house.
Joe does help, but believe it or not, it goes so fast. When you're using cast iron frying pans, you don't even have to use soap to wash them. You know, they clean up so quickly. It's really not hard at all. And this cleans up very fast. But very often, you know, I will simplify things and put things in one pot. But look, here's the rice. You can see it comes out beautifully. Just let it drain a little bit here. And that's fine. I'm going to do some more tortillas. Actually, let me show you what this would look like. So here's a tortilla. Let me just wipe this. So you can take some of the beans. Spread the beans around. Oh, we didn't make the cashew cream yet. Let me put this to the side for a minute. I'm gonna come back to that. Let's do the cashew cream. So, I don't know if all of you came prepared with your soaking cashews. Where did I put my little strainer? Oh, here it is. So you're going to strain the water out. We'll do that right now. I'm going to use my little mixer again. You can use the big Cuisinart if you'd like, but actually maybe I will use the big one. Nah, I'll use this little one. So you're going to put the cashews in. It's not going to all fit at once, so I'm going to have to do it in 2 stages. But basically half of the cashews with half a cup of water. And because it's basically 1-to-1. So it's 1 cup of cashews, 1 cup of water. But since I'm doing half at a time, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to put the juice of 1 lime in here. I'm going to pull out my lime again. Rolled it. Cut it. Put the lime in here. Put the lid on. And a pinch of salt. Little pinch of salt. And I use cashews so often in my vegan cooking. Anytime I want a cream sauce, you know, you can make cream fresh with this. You can, obviously putting lime in it is not conducive for cream fresh, but it's great for Mexican food. If you're doing something sweet, you can add vanilla and a little honey or maple syrup to it, and it's delicious. I make a vegan cheesecake using cashews. Cashews have very little of their own flavor, and when you soak them and puree them, they get really creamy. Just give it a little more. few more cashews to this. You know, and you can choose how thick you want it to be. If you want it to be more like a sour cream. I'm going to add, you can see how thick it's getting now. See, that's thick. I'm going to add a little more lime juice to this. Show you. So it just whips up like a beautiful sour cream or sauce. I'm going to add a little more salt. That's what it needs. I wasn't down all the way. Oh, it's great. So that's it. So now I'm going to put together our little dish.
Bhavani, what's that blender?
Yeah.
What's
What
the
about
model blender?
It's a Braun mini processor. B-R-A-U-N. Also, you know, you can either use fresh avocado or you can buy this guacamole. If you buy this guacamole, they sell it at Trader Joe's, they sell it at Costco. It's great. It's really pretty much just avocados, but you need to add lime to it. You need to add garlic. You need to add salsa, and that will make a really great little guacamole very quickly for you. So do that too. I'm just going to do that. Empty this guacamole. And again, like I said, if you don't have that, you have an avocado, you can certainly use an avocado. I'm going to add some garlic to it. I'm going to add another lime to it. Because it's not good by itself. I know they sell it as guacamole, but it does not taste like guacamole until you add things to it. You add the garlic, you add the lime, you add some of the chopped onions. I'm gonna have to chop some more red onion. Red onion, and then some salsa into it. And now it's good guacamole. Okay, so we have all our components for a really delicious Mexican meal. We're now going to put it together. We have the beans. Still a little cramped here. Okay, so I have 2 tortillas. I'm going to put the vegetables on top. Oh, I got the beans there. Okay, vegetables. And like I said, with the vegetables, you can add broccoli to this if you want. You can add kale. You can add whatever greens you might want to this. I'm going to add a little cilantro sprinkle on top. Then you can add some, actually, let's add some salsa first. Some salsa. Let me get a plate. Bear with me a minute. Okay, so I'm going to put these on plates. Okay, then I'm going to add some guacamole. And some of the creme fraiche. It's made with cashews. Sprinkle a little cilantro on top. Voila, you're going to serve it with some rice, which we have right here. And you can serve it with some salad. And here you have a beautiful, quick dinner to put on the table. Tortillas. Now, as I said, this can be, you can serve it as tacos, where you serve all the components separately in bowls at the table, and people can mix their own. If you're doing tacos, I'd recommend also putting a bowl of chopped lettuce out, chopped lettuce, chopped tomatoes. I forgot to garnish this. Let's put a little onion on top here. And you can also make burritos. For a burrito, you'd use a flour tortilla because it's a little bit bigger. You'd roll it up. If you eat cheese and you desire cheese, or you buy like vegan cheese, you can use that as well. But for me, this is really so satisfying. You have so many different flavors and textures, and that's really what food's about. To be really comforting, you want to have lots of different textures and flavors. And so you have that with this. And this salad just goes so well with it, because especially with the mandarin oranges, it just lights it all up. So anyway, enjoy. If you have any questions, I'm open for questions right now.